Recording in progress.
Got it.
Welcome to My Views Are My Own. Movie reviews. My reviews are my own. And today I am once again joined with the talented, wise, worldly, unlicensed pilot, space explorer, hopeful, Nancy Gorman, aka Nova Halo. What's up, Nancy?
Yo, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I just finished watching Aliens again. I'm gonna guess this has to be the 100th time I've seen this movie, because I started watching it as a child, and I had it on VHS, like cassette tape, and I probably wore that tape out, and now I own it on like 30th anniversary deluxe edition Blu-ray.
Wow.
Which is funny because I forgot I even had that. I was trying to find it on some streaming services. I was like, does Netflix have it? No. And I was like, does Hulu have it? And they didn't have it. And then I was like, wait, I have this. And I went and I dug it out. And actually, I'd gotten it as a gift. I didn't realize it came with all these like cool ass comic books and all kinds of cool shit that I'm gonna dig into later. Yeah,
that's so nice. I've got to have a look at that. Yeah, I'm pretty surprised it wasn't on Netflix. Actually, I managed to stream it through Disney Plus, which I would never have thought it would be a part of.
Well,
on someone else's account.
Is there something to do with like maybe Fox, Searchlight, and Disney, or I don't know what these corporations everything. I do know it's a Fox production, because I actually did some additional research beyond just like this will be a different movie review than normal, because a lot of times we just get on here and I do a lot of talking shit about the movie that comes up. But to me, I mean, this is a nearly perfect movie, and I've loved it my whole life.
Yeah.
So I went and did some kind of like some little deep dive research into more about it, more of how it was made, some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, why not just, because obviously Aliens is a whole ass vibe, but it's a lot more.
Yeah. It's the character, how they developed the characters was really cool, like with Ripley and all the maternal aspect. And actually there was so much. I had a look at the trivia on IMDb last night, and there was so much. I was scrolling through it for more than half an hour, only got like halfway through, and I didn't know that they filmed it actually in England, and I was pretty disappointed that apparently the English staff were rubbish. They were just
they were pissed
going they were going for fag breaks or to the pub or anything, like, and their work ethic apparently was a lot worse than the American crew when they did Alien.
But did you read what their motivation was for that?
Yeah, wasn't it they really didn't like James Cameron? They were really snobby towards him because he hadn't made a name for himself, and they were very loyal to Ridley Scott. But I mean, it's kind of sad.
I mean, my understanding, because I had read some interviews with this one, I forgot exactly what he was like a crew chief, so he was in charge of a lot of the crew, and he was saying that like what it was is that people felt like Alien was a British film, and that and that Ridley Scott had created a perfect film, and that it was and they were all like, oh, it's bullshit that this American is going to come over here and make a sequel to they felt like it should only be Ridley Scott. I don't know.
Yeah, which is kind of ridiculous because a lot of the crew are American in the film, and yeah, it's just ridiculous, but whatever.
I mean, I think what actually I had heard some stuff too, like because there was a whole walkout. Like at some point the British crew walked out of the film completely. They're like, we're not going to do anything else for you because James Cameron fired the assistant director, who was British, and he was kind of the go-between. And because Sigourney Weaver was so beloved by everyone, she pulled it all together, and she went to the crew. They all knew her because she had been in Alien 1, and of course she's the star. James Cameron has to listen to her too, and she just pulled the whole thing together. And she's like, look, we got to
and she wasn't even going to do it, was she? There was a whole thing about that.
That's what I found so interesting when you just brought up the fact that like there's that maternal aspect. because it does come down to like a showdown between Ripley as a mother figure with Newt, and the Queen alien as a mother figure towards all aliens. Actually, that really sold Sigourney Weaver on the role. I think that was one of the things that got her into it. She's like, oh, I like that vibe.
Yeah, and she wasn't it her kind of idea to have the aspect of her daughter dying? And I was actually quite the version that I found on Disney Plus. It wasn't the special edition version with all the extra scenes, because I was watching it. It's been a couple of years since I watched that particular I was going to say episode, but one. And I was like, where are these scenes? Like Timmy and the car, and I hate that scene. It's so sad. But finding out that her daughter's passed. It's been 57, 56 years. Apparently,
the thing is, I did the exact same thing as you. I watched I had the choice of watching special edition or theatrical release. And just because I decided to watch the movie this morning before we got on our call, I was like, I don't have time to watch the special edition. And also, like, I mean, that didn't come out until the 90s. So, and even then it wasn't the popular, like if you bought it, like if you bought a home copy of it, that wasn't the more likely one you would get. So I don't think I even saw, personally, I don't think I saw the special edition probably until like 2015. Might have been the first time I saw that.
Yeah, apparently she was pretty annoyed that they cut a lot of that stuff, but they were worried about the length of the film, because even without it, it's 2 hours, 20 minutes. Now they don't seem to care about that kind of thing.
That was the thing I know that's a complaint that a lot of people have about the movie, because it's something to do with the pacing. That's like, because it builds to a crescendo, it's kind of like in the Hall of the Mountain King or something, you know what I mean? Like it has this huge buildup, but that's what I love about it, is all that world building. And then you start to really care about these characters. And then of course it becomes more and more tense. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that did the score. I think his name was
Horner.
James Horner.
Yeah. Horny. Yeah. He died in a plane crash, his own little plane, I think.
Really?
A couple of years ago, yeah. I think it might have been a Cessna. I might be talking shit, but pretty sad. Excellent.
Rest in peace, James Horner. But before we go, I mean, obviously, it's no less sad, but one of my favorite actors of all time, to me, he truly is. Like, I mean, I know Sigourney Weaver is the star of this movie, but Bill Paxton steals the show time and time again. And I love him in so many other things. So rest in peace, Bill Paxton. I think he died in 2017. And an interesting fact that I learned while deep diving into this, Bill Paxton in movies, he has been killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator.
Whoa.
That's a pretty amazing accomplishment.
God.
All right, let's set the scene.
Yes.
The escape pod, life raft, floating through like deep space. We don't know what's going on. You go inside, everything's covered in ice. It's caught by a deep space salvage team, and it turns out it's Ripley, and she has been in cryo sleep for 57 years. So she's just now found out that, she put herself in the chamber when she was like 30, and now she's an 87-year-old woman technically.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about like some of the beginning stuff with her and Paul Reiser, and he's explaining to her that
some of it was so hilarious. I don't know why I found it so funny. And there's something about, I don't know what it is about his appearance. Like, there have been some studies where there are certain features that people have that might make them more or less trustworthy. And I don't feel like there's anything particularly obvious about him, but the moment you set eyes on him, you just know not to trust him.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way when you see him? I don't know what it is.
It's so hard for me to watch this movie now and try to see it with fresh eyes, because I know he's a piece of shit. But I'm pretty sure, like, to audiences when it very first happened, especially because Paul Reiser was like at that time was like a loved comedian. And I know that he was cast in that role specifically because James Cameron was like, he wanted someone that you would never guess was the villain until the big reveal. And so Paul Reiser, you know, he's like the star of the, you know, Mad About You. And like, so I don't know. I'm not sure if
he did it really well
necessarily. I mean, his hair looks ridiculous.
Yeah, the beginning, I think a lot of people can identify with Ripley. Like in the start, she's often really undermined, and he infantilizes her quite a lot, keeps calling her kiddo. I don't know if that's just a colloquialism, but I think it really adds to the whole, you know, they don't take her seriously. Actually, I remember when I was a kid, and it was so weird because, I mean, in England, I don't know if you guys do this in America, but here, Burke is like a cuss. If you call someone a Burke, you're calling them an idiot. And I remember watching it as like a 4-year-old and being like, why is he called Burke? That's so weird. Like, it's like someone being called fool or idiot or dumb or something.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Every time I talk to you, I learn new words. No, but I wanted to agree with what you were saying. Like, yeah, with so let's just call him Burke. But yeah, that's Paul Reiser's character, and Burke is constantly doing like what you're saying. He's gaslighting her. He's speaking down to her. He's calling her kiddo.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go like even further to that, you know, because there's that board meeting she goes to that he's a part of, and it's all the corporate executives for. I can never remember the name of their company. It's Wayland.
Yeah, it's something weird.
It's like a Japanese name.
Wayland Year something, and apparently you might know this already, but he came up with that name based on some bad neighbors that he had, and it was his kind of tribute to saying that they were dicks.
Oh, he just stole their names.
Yeah, and put them together, and yeah, that's cool.
I know a lot of people didn't like Prometheus or Alien Covenant. I fucking love those movies, and I love finding out who Wayland is, you know, and played by Guy Pearce.
Yeah, no, I liked them too.
But yeah, what I wanted to say, like what you were getting at with, like, I mean, you were saying more to the point. Burke, you know, is like, oh, come on, kiddo, like let's go do, you know, all you have to do is come along and be an advisor, kiddo, and I'll get you reinstated as a flight officer because she's been demoted. But what I found to be, you know, so accurate and appropriate to the world we live in is she's in that corporate board meeting where they're all trying to assess how much money they lost, you know, and they don't even care that they lost the lives of every crew member of that ship except for her. And like everyone in that room, and I don't know how many of them are complicit or they know that alien species does exist. But one way
that's
or
an
another,
interesting idea.
Yeah, and it speaks like, because a lot of people do consider this a feminist film, especially when it came out. I know there's more problems with it now, but in that scene, one way or another, either if you're an executive in that room, you either know that the species exists and you want it captured for the bioweapons division, or you don't know the species exists and you're just being deliberately stonewalling this woman and saying, well, I don't believe her. Like, and what if one of the men, what if the captain of the ship had come back, the man, if he had been there saying it, would they have been like, oh, well, he's a man, and he probably telling the truth.
Yeah, and even the other woman does it to her as well, which is something I'm sure lots of women listening will identify with, maybe in office work or any kind of work, maybe.
She's awful. It's hard to tell exactly what her role is. I think she's maybe like an insurance auditor, but she's like reading Ripley's statement but reading it back to her in sarcasm, and it's just I was just like, God, I hate her.
Yeah, none of them have any clue, and she's very haunted, isn't she? And I think so. Wasn't there an idea that Aliens was meant to kind of represent the Vietnam War, and Ripley is one of, you know, many soldiers with PTSD? Yeah, you can apply that to so many things, can't you? Like, it's not necessarily one thing.
I think that that's something that they do extraordinarily well in this film, is that Ripley, certainly has PTSD. She's been through something. I mean, all of her friends were killed in front of her by a terrifying monster that she barely is able to kill. And then she's in cryosleep for 57 years. And then she gets out of cryosleep and is immediately being berated by a bunch of corporate shitbags who have never experienced a real thing in their lives. And what I like is that they don't expressly say that she has PTSD. They're not like out, it's not, it's just that Sigourney Weaver is a great actress and it's a well-written role. And so you just see it. Like the scene, I think they cut away from the boardroom and it cuts to, it's like a close-up of her. What?
The nightmare she has, is it?
Oh, I was thinking about when they cut to, so she has that argument and then they cut to, she's holding a cigarette and the cigarette ash is like 2 inches long because she's been like staring into the distance and forgotten she's been smoking the whole time.
Yeah, what a detail. Wow.
And then I guess, like you said, the nightmares, the parts where she wakes up like she's like covered in sweat.
That's so hilarious when the woman goes, do you want something to help you sleep? And she goes, no, I've slept enough.
Yeah, it was a good line. She's got a lot of great lines. Well delivered.
Yeah.
So moving forward, I mean, we know this as the audience that they want to get her, they want us, well, also, if you've seen the extended cut, which you wouldn't know if you watched the theatrical release, that Burke has already sent the colonists to the derelict spaceship where he knows that the xenomorphs are in order to obtain some eggs for their bioweapons division. What I don't completely understand exactly is why he feels like he needs to bring Ripley along, and also why the Marine sergeant also feels that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe he thinks that she might know something from her previous experience that will somehow help him in doing what he needs to get done. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but it is crazy, like that scene where they're trying to convince her to go back. And this was something that I did read, because James Cameron did agree and admit that a lot of this was inspired by the Vietnam War. And I think an action that some Vietnam soldiers had done that like came back and couldn't, like, they were having a hard time adjusting, and they would actually re-enlist and go back to Vietnam.
Oh my God! Wow.
I can't say for
like
certain,
when some people leave prison and they don't know how to live and they just end up going back to prison.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels you could draw. So, I mean, but I think that later on her motivation switches from that she's there to face her fears to that she becomes a mother to Newt. But I guess we're kind of jumping ahead. Oh, but yeah, I guess like this kind of brings me to when you are saying the Vietnam War, this is what's so incredibly like I like how there's certain symbolism in this that is so blatant, and this has been noted by a lot of people. But the Marine spaceship that they're on, like the major like ship they're on that does like faster than light travel, looks exactly like their rifles in the movie. It looks like a giant gun floating through space.
Yeah.
And some of the symbolism would be, if you were going to take it and say that it's like the Vietnam War, would be that in Vietnam, the US went in with, all this superior firepower, all these bombs, jets, helicopters, machine guns, and didn't know what they were up against and lost anyway.
Yeah. Ooh.
I guess, I don't know, do you want to move us forward to the next scene?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know a lot about the Vietnam War, I'm ashamed to say. There's not a lot I know about it. I couldn't comment.
Was there not like a lot of, I assume there probably was like maybe no British soldiers, or maybe very few?
Yeah, I would imagine very few, if any. I really don't know. I'm not going to embarrass myself and talk about it.
I mean, it was a French war before the US got involved. The US went in and took over because because France gave up.
Wow. Ennuyeux. C'est ennuyeux. No, that's offensive. Oh, let me see. I guess this film couldn't have happened if so in the original film, I mean, before they got started, Ripley was going to be a guy, wasn't she?
Yeah, it was written for a man. And
I wonder what. Yeah, sorry, I keep interrupting. Go on.
Oh no, I was only going to say, and this is actually far more embarrassing than you saying you don't know anything about the Vietnam War because you're not an American, and that was a U.S.
I should still know. It's a big world event.
But one thing that I'm not super educated on, and I'll readily admit it, is that I know that feminism has gone through like multiple stages, and in 1986, this film was very widely received as a feminist film and a really good one. Mm-hmm. That's because that was like, I think, at the end of second wave feminism, where more of what it meant, what feminism meant at that time was to Ripley would have been a great example. It's just showing that a woman can do anything that a man can do, or putting a woman in the role of someone that's typically a male profession or some shit. So, or you know what I mean? But yeah. I do know that I don't want to get any deeper than that with it, because people that are really educated and, feminists that are, I don't want to get torn apart and sound like a fucking idiot. So I just want to say that for its time, it's a pretty great movie, like in that way.
I mean, it's a shame that it can't be discussed without being attacked, and of course you wouldn't mean any kind of offense, but I'm quite intrigued, because I'm not sure what I find what's wrong with Ripley's character or what she represents. I mean, I can only see good, really.
That's the thing, is that's why I wanted to be careful, specifically just with using the term feminism. That's what I want to be careful with. I'm not going to be careful by saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is as well with that term is there's a word I'm looking for where it's kind of its own umbrella as well. Like there are so many different types, and you're gonna have to cut that out because I can't find this word that I want, and it just sounds so stupid.
Are you looking for branches?
Yeah, that would work. Like,
because at one point feminism was more like, it's like we want the right to vote, or like I want to wear pants, and in this such a long road to now, like, but now there's so many branches that even someone like me, who like I would consider myself, at least for the most part, I want to consider myself a feminist, but I don't have the education to even be able to name all the different ways that term can be meant. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm sure that there is disparity between different feminists and what that means, and what's cool and what's not.
I think with this film, the only thing that I know for certain that some people might consider like Ripley's character or her role, or how it didn't fully live up to the level of feminism that it could have, is that she takes on a motherly role in it, and that becomes her motivation. And some people, why does she have to be a mother? But it's also, I think,
that's kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? But I understand. I can see why that would bother some people, but I don't know. You've got to look at the context. It would be a different film, wouldn't it? I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it expands on her strength, really.
Yeah.
And I'd be wrong to say that she's doing something that a man couldn't, because obviously you've got plenty of kids who only have dads, and they're fulfilling that parental role, whether it's a mother or a father. But it's nice that through the maternal subplot, we get to see more of Ripley's emotional side and her human side. She's not just a boss bitch who can give great orders and all the rest of it. She's very can't find the words, sorry.
Well, it's kind of like, it's saying that she, like, in many ways, like, she's stronger than many of her male counterparts of the film, because she's handling all the same shit they're handling, or handling better. You know, like Bill Paxton's character, although I love his character, he's amazing. He has all the best lines. You know, but he's constantly falling apart. You know, he's crying, you know, and there's actually that scene where Ripley's like he's like they find out they won't get a rescue ship for 17 days, and he's like, 17 days, we're not going to last 17 hours, you know. And she's like, this little girl, so hilarious. Yeah, she goes, this little girl survived longer than that with no weapons and no training. And he was like, well, fine, why don't you put her in charge, man? Which is great.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's cool. But like, then, it breaks stereotypes.
So Ripley's doing more than just, she's not just there to be a mother to Newt. Because she takes full command. Like once the shit hits the, like once they go, and this is, also I think we kind of breezed over this, and we should probably go back to it, because it is potentially one of the greatest scenes in any movie. But after they go to the colonist facility, and they find that, you know, there had been like a lot of small arms fire, an attempt to barricade, everyone's missing, there's no bodies, there's just the face hugger parasites like in a laboratory, but no evidence of any colonists, just evidence that there had been a lot of battling, and the evidence that there had been acid blood, so they had killed some of the aliens in the fight. And then they are able to find I guess they have tracker devices implanted in all the colonists, so they're able to go to the nuclear reactor, which also is the hive of the aliens, and which is so amazing because they walk in. I want to say one more thing about Bill Paxton, because there's a scene, and someone's complaining about, and there's shit dripping everywhere, you know, just disgusting, like resin dripping. It's like steam.
Yeah, and that was KY jelly, apparently.
Oh, was it? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of KY. Oh, but yeah, what I was saying is, like, even through the screen, you know, just watching it at home or in a theater, you can like feel the humidity in that room. And someone's like, God, it's hot in here. And Hudson goes like, yeah, man, but it's a dry heat.
I don't remember that part. That's hilarious.
I think some people found him annoying, and I found him perfect in all.
My dad loved him. I remember, because the first time I saw this film, I was about 4. My dad, you know, inappropriate, but I would not change it. He woke me up at like 1 a.m. And I remember like, you know, my eyes were barely open, and I could just see a ship at one point. I was like, I don't remember this scene in Star Wars. I was really confused. It wasn't, of course, I just saw like the interior of a ship. They're not even alike. But my dad bloody loved Paxton. He's brilliant. He's the comic relief. It's great. Yeah. It gives more dimension to the film. There are some really funny moments. Some of it I don't think is meant to be funny, but then there's some that is obvious, you know, totally.
And also funny. Like, you know, in terrifying, traumatizing experiences in life, there's still funny shit happening. I feel like funny stuff that like rarely ceases to happen. I mean, you might not be in the mood to laugh at it, but oftentimes there's been times where I've had a miserable experience, but you know, obviously later on I can look back on it and laugh and be like, well,
or some and it depends. I guess it depends as well on your particular type of humor and all that sort of thing. But I mean, I don't know. I grew up in a family with quite a dark humor. I mean, this isn't so much dark. I'm kind of going off topic, but I remember when my granddad was dying in hospital, and the nurse came to my nan and said, how long have you two been together? You know, they're like late 70s, and she goes, 2 weeks. Like, she was totally joking, but I thought that was pretty funny.
It is pretty funny.
I'm not going to embarrass myself and tell the awful jokes that I've told in the past in very dark moments that people have not appreciated. But
feel free to tell as many dark jokes as you want.
Oh man,
I feel like,
no,
you know what? I feel like I didn't even introduce you. I feel like I have this tendency. I have ADD and I just skip ahead and I jump around. But I guess I forgot to mention to anyone listening, if they don't know, because they haven't, like, you know, if the podcast is like, you know, if you haven't been here from the beginning, Nancy was one of the very first guests on this podcast when it was a brand new
12,
podcast. Yeah, you were episode 12. That was when I was still like practically only interviewing like people that you were maybe one of the first people that I didn't already personally know, and I met you through Domino. So you might have been like the first person that was like not just a friend of mine.
Yeah,
but we're friends now.
I can't believe that was like 2020. I can't believe.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I think the last time I spoke to you was 2020 because we did a spooky episode, didn't we? In like Halloween.
I was gonna say that too. You brought it. Oh my God, you had one of the. So from all the like messages that I got from listeners, your story on the first Halloween Spooktacular, which is crazy that there's been 2 Halloween Spooktaculars now.
Yeah, yeah. I really
everyone said your story was the scariest.
Really? I didn't think it was, but that's cool. I like it.
It's surprising what people will be scared of, because like some people had like, you know, poltergeist stories, like murder stories, all kinds of shit. But I think yours just had a vibe, you know.
Oh, I feel proud, I guess. Not proud, honored.
Or maybe it's just that you have like you seem trustworthy. Like people believe that you're honest and that the experience was real, and so that they're more like more scared because it sounded like real true.
I appreciate that. That was entirely my sincere experience.
All right, so yeah, we're in the alien hive. Sorry to say this, but one of the total fucking douchebags of the film, his name is Gorman. And I'm sorry.
I know. Oh my God. Yeah. I remember when they decide to detonate themselves because it's that or get ripped up. That you always were an asshole, Gorman. Oh my God, not Gorman. And I remember my dad saying, "Yeah, I've heard that a few times."
That's awesome.
But I'm a Gorman kind of by adoption, so I'm going to what's the phrase? I'm gonna hang on to that because he's a terrible character. He's disgusting.
Well, you know,
I'm ashamed.
Much like Hudson, he has a character arc. He has growth, because in the beginning, what it is in the beginning, he's you know, wet behind the ears. He's too fucking green. They shouldn't have sent. You know, I forgot what he was like. Was he a captain? I don't know. I guess I can't really. He was an officer. I just don't know what his rank was, but he was the highest ranking officer on this mission, and he'd never been in combat. They have that whole scene where they're doing the drop to Earth in the drop ship, and Ripley's like, "How many drops is this for you?" And he's like, 38 simulated. And she's like, "How many?" He goes like, "How many combat drops is this?" And he goes, 2, including this one. And that's when all the Marines in the back are like, "Fuck, we're fucked." But like what you're saying in later on the scene, like when he you know, in the very beginning, it's his fault that half the Marines are killed in the very first encounter with the aliens because they're so unprepared, and he's such a poor leader. But I feel like after he's like has a concussion and has a little bit of time to think, I feel like he realizes he's a bad leader and that's not what he should be. But he goes back and sacrifices himself for Vasquez and pulls, you know, when they get surrounded by aliens, he pulls out the grenade. Not because he's not because he's an asshole or a piece of shit. He's just like, hey, rather than us get taken and cocooned and have.
Yeah, there's something really sweet about that scene, actually. Yeah.
So I would like to go ahead and say that, yeah, Gorman starts out as a piece of shit, but a lot of character growth, and then ultimate sacrifice at the end. So
yeah, I wasn't fair. You're so right. Yeah.
I do have to say one thing too. I learned this recently. I don't know how deep I want to get into this because I thought like I've always thought Vasquez was like such a fucking cool character. She's so badass. It's another one of like the feminist aspects of the film. She's strong. She doesn't take shit from anybody. The other Marines try to.
She's funny.
Yeah, she's funny. They try to give her shit. She gives them more shit back, and I like how she gets out of cryo sleep and immediately starts doing just 50 pull-ups.
Pull-ups. I love that line of, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No, have you?
Yeah,
that's great.
The only thing.
Are you going to talk about what I think you're going to talk about?
Yeah, I just feel like it has to be said, and then we can get past it.
That's so. Yeah.
And shit, you know what? Once again, 1986 was a very different time, and people weren't talking about like a lot of important things yet. Then, I mean, that was like the fucking president was Ronald Reagan. You know, he was out here literally. That's when who's that fat piece of shit fucking pillhead that just died? Oh God, he was the radio personality that would celebrate every time someone would die of AIDS. He would celebrate on his radio show.
Whoa, what the fuck? I don't think I know this guy.
Oh, no, if I could think of his name, it's, you know what? I'm glad that his name is already like
gone out of your head. Yeah. I forget words and names all the time. I'm like you when you said ADD. I just so disjointed and can't find any words. And yeah, I'll be curious if I know this guy's name.
I had to Rush fucking Limbaugh.
Oh, I don't know this guy.
Oh man, he's a racist, sexist, homophobic piece of shit. And he was one of the most popular radio hosts in America at this time. So I just before we go any further and before I criticize this film that I love for anything, I just want to say the environment here in America was the kind of place where a guy like Rush Limbaugh was topping the charts with his radio show. And he had a thing, that was at the very peak of the AIDS epidemic. And, at the same, Ronald Reagan also, racist, homophobic, disgusting, warmongering, just would do anything for a buck or anything to get a buck for the corporations that he worked for. So these are, this is the environment. This is our government at that time. And yeah, Rush Limbaugh, that was one of the things when he died, and on Twitter, rest in piss was trending for like a day. And all these people on the right were like, that's not fair. You can't say rest in piss. That's not fucking respectful. But this guy doesn't deserve any respect because, that's people were dying of AIDS all the time. And he had this segment on his radio show, and he would read off the names of everyone that had died of AIDS that week, and then play like circus music and play like balloons and, not balloons, like horns and celebration sounds.
What a moron.
So I just want to say that is the 1980s in America. That's happening. So when something like this happens, like in this film, what the point is that Vasquez is a Latina character. I don't know exactly where she's supposed to be from, if she's supposed to be South American or from Mexico or whatever, but the woman that played her is not Latina. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm just gonna put that out there. I mean, that happened.
It's not good. Yeah, that happened.
Still an amazing character. And the thing was, I didn't know that until yesterday, until I started looking this up. I just assumed that they had cast a Latina woman that I just never seen in another film. But what I was unaware of is that I had seen her in another film. James Cameron cast her in Terminator 2. She was John Connor's adoptive mother.
Yeah. I wonder what she'd say about that now. I'll have to Google that later if there's been any comment. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but it's been so long, and I think the thing was when that happened, nobody was having that conversation.
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I think that's the main reason why I said this is an almost perfect film. But I'm not going to turn a blind eye to like certain things where I'm like, okay,
issues.
Like, totally. Why did you not just cast? I mean, there had to have been so many actresses that could have been great in this role. Like, why? But anyway,
it's really fucking weird. I quite enjoy to use Blade Runner terminology, the replicant guy. So it's quite nice as well to see the development in Ripley where, she flat out hates bots and then the bot kind of saves her ass at the end. And how sometimes you might, I mean, not you personally, or whoever discriminates whoever for whatever reason because of a demographic they belong to, and then they learn that actually they're wrong, and you can't tar everyone by the same brush. I liked that.
Yeah,
I liked that they had a good one this time.
Big shout out, I can never think of that actor's name, but the guy that played Bishop, and Bishop was such a cool character, such a cool android. And that's the thing is,
I love his face.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Great.
If you know, some people, if you've never seen this movie before and you go back and you watch it right now, you might be like, oh, this is full of so many cliches. But that's not the case. What happened was this film invented all of these ideas. These were breakthrough ideas. This is all very new stuff. It's just that for the past several decades, people have been borrowing from this film because it's good stuff, you know? I think that whole, the entire video game series Halo, you know, it owes its entire inception to aliens, you know?
Yeah.
Even the mech suits, because if you think about it, Ripley fights the alien. I know she's in a power loader, which is supposed to be just kind of like a bipedal forklift, but it's a mech suit. I mean, why, you know?
Yeah. I've not heard the word bipedal in ages. Anyway.
Wayland Yutani Corporation.
Okay.
Sorry, that was bothering me, and I'm just glad that I just had to get it said.
Yeah.
You know who we have not shouted out yet?
Yeah.
And, I mean, because here's the thing with this is going into it, I had forgot that James Cameron even made this. And I know that right now a lot of people have a problem with James Cameron, which I was like, I wasn't really sure what that's about. Maybe it's just he's pissed a lot of people off personally or something. But if you look at his body of work, he made Terminator 2. What? Yeah, he made the Titanic.
He made Titanic as well.
Aliens, The Abyss, True Lies. I don't know. He made a whole lot of shit. But it's like, it's all good stuff. I don't know.
I think he's an incredible filmmaker. I don't know what the beef is. I'll look it up. But he's a great director. All his pictures. He did Avatar, right?
I think that was one of the things he was criticized for, is everyone thinks that Avatar wasn't like, maybe that it was like not didn't have enough complexity or layers, or I don't know what they didn't like about it. But apparently you all went and saw it because it's like, what did it gross, like $50 billion?
The films always have to have all this complexity as well. Sometimes you might just enjoy the vibe of the ambience, and I'm so inarticulate. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't be on this.
No, the funny thing is, when you just brought that up, that's literally how on an earlier episode of my reviews or my own, where we got into movies, we were doing the movie Phantoms. I would be really surprised if you've seen it. It's a really early in Ben Affleck's career movie where he's it's a horror movie starring Ben Affleck. But you know, it's a simple, straightforward, fun, you know, scary movie, and then it's over. And I was giving it credit for being just that. I was like, it's fun to watch. I'm not haunted by it afterward. I don't have to think about it anymore, but I enjoyed it while I watched it. And there's a lot to be said for a film that, like, I don't want to have to think about a movie for the rest of my life just because not always.
Not always. And you know, it's very accessible for children. There are some good positive messages in Avatar. A lot of people said it was, I don't know if you ever watched Fern Gully as a kid. I love it.
It's almost the same plot.
It's the same thing, and it's got good messages overall. What do people want? They just constantly want to prove how intellectual they are. It's a good film.
And the thing is, like, you know, Fern Gully is a good movie. Nobody's bitching about that. And I would go as far as to say also, Avatar was a lot like Dances with Wolves too. And doesn't, like, I feel like Dances with Wolves got like critical acclaim forever and ever. I don't feel like nobody ever complaints about that movie, and it's a lot of the same kind of ideas, right? Where colonialists are stealing land from indigenous people. Like that's kind of like the concept.
And they should just fuck off.
Oh, anyway, what I was trying to say about with Aliens with James Cameron is that yes, great film. He created so many cool things with it, tried so many new things, did it on a pretty difficult to do budget. Honestly, they were cheap on that. It was like 17 million, which comparatively at that time to other like big sci-fi movies was really low budget. But he stood on the shoulders of giants because, like we said earlier, this came after Ridley Scott's film Alien, which was a huge setup, for this film. I feel like you really can't have one without the other. I feel like these movies have to both exist to appreciate either one.
Yeah, they have such a different vibe, but they both are just so brilliant. And apparently Ridley Scott congratulated James Cameron and was very pleased with where he took the story.
And I wanted to say the other great, other giant was H.R. Geiger himself, the creator of the Xenomorph, the creator of the derelict ship, the creator of the whole when we talk about vibe, a lot of the vibe is literally just the way they do that set design, all based on H.R. Geiger's designs.
Yeah. And they didn't even have him in the second one, did they? I can't remember what the reason was, but he also congratulated whoever was in charge of that in the second film and was pretty pleased with it. I once had, there's like Kurt Geiger and H.R. Geiger. Remember I had these super ugly, like I really like them. When I went to El Salvador, I bought these clunky black proper H.R. Geiger-esque shoes.
Nice.
And they were like $10. And then I found them years later somewhere, just by chance. They were like nearly £100. And it was just kind of funny when you say Geiger shoes, because the Kurt Geiger are like proper flash, aren't they? Like these stilettos and stuff. And
yeah.
But I didn't tell that very well. But yeah, he's awesome.
I do love that incorporating H.R. Geiger's art into like more into pop culture and like also into fashion, because he's got a really cool message with a lot of what he's creating, and that's that as our society becomes more mechanized, the more we become mechanized, and that's why like he creates so many of those like those bizarre landscapes where like if you look at it, like if maybe at first glance it looks like a bunch of machines, but then if you really look at it, it's just a bunch of like penises and vaginas that are just made out of machine parts, like and it goes over like and it's a landscape. It's like a lot of really horrifying, like crazy shit like that.
Yeah, and the aliens themselves in Aliens are very genital sort of inspired, aren't they? Like,
yeah, especially the scene with the queen alien when she detaches herself from her ovipositor.
Yeah,
like that's a pretty disgusting scene. Or
it's so disgusting.
This has been said before, but the face huggers themselves, it's basically a spider with a vagina in the middle and a tail that it can use to hold your throat. And then, but I guess this is some of the argument is like, there's the scene where in this movie where the one of the face huggers has jumped at Ripley. She's holding it off and it's choking her with its tail.
Yeah.
And then it has an appendage of some sort that comes out that's trying to get into her mouth. And the question is like, some people have said it's phallic, but it's like an ovipositor. It's just an extended egg laying device. So those, those are also female creatures. Anyway, a lot of really terrifying and like gross ways to look at sex. Thanks, H.R. Geiger.
Yeah. It reminds me of in Alien where Ash is trying to choke Ripley with the porn magazine. If you look at it closely, really powerful symbolism.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch Alien. I haven't seen that in a really long time. Hey, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna grab another soda. Cool. Take me 30 seconds.
Yeah. cool.
I've been working out a whole bunch, so I feel like I can like reward myself whenever I want with fucking Fantas.
Oh, well done. That's great.
Although it's kind of
Excellent.
stupid because it's like what does this thing have? And this is like a miniature one. It has 160 calories of like pure sugar.
Well, if you can afford it sometimes, can't you? And you have to enjoy life.
You have to enjoy life. It's so true.
You have to enjoy life and Fanta.
All right, so I guess moving on, and that was the scene we were just talking about. This is where we, the final reveal of Burke is a piece of shit. Ripley has let Newt go like sleep in the med lab, and then she goes to check on her, and that's when Burke has let loose 2 of the facehuggers because he was trying to get them impregnated with the alien eggs so he could sneak them through customs back on Earth and into the bioweapons division to make a buck. And I would have to say, so like amazing, great rescue scene with Hudson and Hicks and Vasquez, and they're like blasting the aliens and getting the alien off Ripley's throat. But I do want to say, speaking of like really great lines, is when Ripley's like, oh no, he was he was trying to get us impregnated with the alien eggs so that he could sneak us through customs, and he was going to shoot all you guys out of the airlock and try and get back in. And then she says like, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them trying to fuck each other for a percentage.
Yeah. That's not even said in a way that's meant to be funny, but it's just great sass.
And it's honestly, it's one of the, to me, one of the more unsatisfying scenes. I mean, like, obviously Burke gets eaten by an alien later, and that's great. That's fine. But it's when, because this is the point where Ripley has taken full leadership role, and nominally Hicks is in charge because he's like the highest ranking soldier still there, but he takes all his cues from Ripley. But when she's like, I like when like they're making this, like they're gonna kill him. Like Hudson's like, why don't we just smoke this rat fuck right here? And then Hicks is like, he goes, yeah, man. He's like, let's kill him. He's like, no offense, and he takes him, and that's when the aliens cut the power. Do you want to take us to the next scene?
Funny. God, hang on. I'm just gonna put on my coat. I'm really cold. Yeah. So what happened next? I can't remember. I only watched it last night. It's
the most it's one of the absolute coolest fucking scenes. It's when they've already barricaded all the doors, but they can see the aliens are still coming in. And like, and he's like, he goes like 6 meters, and she's like, that's inside the room, and that's when Hicks goes in the ceiling.
When they have to smash the glass, isn't it? Wait, no, can't remember. Fuck. I only watched this last night.
They're all like backing up, and the aliens keep coming close to them, and they can't see them because they thought they've sealed off every entrance.
Yeah.
But somehow they didn't realize there was a ventilation system directly above their heads that you could fit a full ass xenomorph in.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just waving to some people coming in the room.
Oh.
Anyway.
It's also the scene of that's Hudson's final scene, and I think that it's great because once again, like with character growth, he in the beginning he does complain a lot and does have a lot of like, game over, man, what are we gonna do now, man, all that kind of shit. But this is the scene where he's just blasting aliens left and right. He's keeping his friends safe, killing them, and then he's finally grabbed by one in the floor, and it drags him into like who knows what, some tunnel.
Yeah. Oh, bless him. Sorry, Doug. I'm being so crap.
Do you just feel like you're forgetting the movie?
I'm just having trouble after about halfway through remembering.
Okay, well, you do remember this, that Bishop gets sent down like a little teeny tunnel by himself, and he has to crawl all the way to the nuclear reactor, because what's happening now is the nuclear reactor is going to explode because they crashed their plane into it. And so they have to get off the planet, and in the ensuing chaos, they lose Newt, and so they get there.
Yeah,
and
that's
when, I'm gonna let you take over this part though, because this is like the part where, because you were saying you liked some of the mothering aspects of Ripley. This is the part where she tells Bishop and Hicks that she's got that, or Bishop's like, you have 26 minutes before this place explodes in a nuclear fission explosion, and that's when Ripley goes down to save Newt.
Yeah, so Newt gets stuck on some kind of wheel that takes her down to the next ground level or something like that, and they find her, but they have to laser through a part of the floor. But then, of course, there's an alien down there, and it steals her and starts to cocoon her. But Ripley can't leave without getting Newt. And sorry, Doug, I'll be like 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not watching it, I swear. So she won't go without her, and this. There are so many moments in this film, isn't there, where you're like, oh fucking way. Newt's little tracker, she's going back to find Newt via the tracker. I hope I've not missed anything. And she comes close to the site where Newt supposedly is, but
Nancy,
then you hear her scream, finally gets her, and they just where the plane is going to pick them up now. Is the audio dodgy?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Actually, you weren't even in this. I didn't even know you were back. Actually, it was just an empty seat.
Oh no!
It was just going da, 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 and then I realized you were talking.
Oh shit!
But now the audio is fine.
Oh no! Cool. Do you remember what I was last talking about?
I'll just edit this part out, and just if you wanted to start from Ripley duct tapes like the flamethrower to the machine gun, and then goes down to the alien hive to save Newt.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So she goes back to get Newt using the tracker that Newt was wearing, but she just finds the tracker and it's been detached from her, of course. But then you hear Newt screaming while she's being cocooned, and she manages to cut her out of the cocoon, and they just about make it in time to be picked up by what's his Bishop. And then he's not there.
Yeah.
But then he explains later, doesn't he? That was so funny. He explains, it was too hot, so I had to circle around.
There's one part that happens in there that I want to bring up before we go to the next part though, because in between, she when she goes and gets Newt, but there's a scene where she actually goes face to face with the Queen Alien, which is really well done.
Oh my goodness, what the fuck is wrong with me? That's one of the biggest scenes. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, the alien
Jesus Christ.
It has two warrior, full-grown alien guards on either side that could easily kill Ripley. And she's got the flamethrower, and she points it. Yeah. She shoots it one time to show what it'll do, and then she points it at the eggs. And the Queen Alien, being a mother, is like, "Whoa, okay." And then I don't know how they communicate, maybe with pheromones, but the Queen Alien has all of her guards back off so that Ripley won't burn the eggs. And then that's their mother to mother moment. And then Ripley basically takes about 12 steps back and then burns all the eggs anyway. And that's when the Queen Alien gets insanely pissed and detaches from the ovipositor and chases her to the top level.
Yeah, that scene is so terrifying. And fuck, what, remember the sorry, 1 sec. Yeah. It's incredible. They were gonna make the Queen Mother
I don't know what's happening, but now you're like in super insane slow motion.
Can
you hear me?
Apparently, but I think they couldn't afford it, so they just ended up using the teeth. The teeth were translucent in the end. I don't think this is working. Is it working? No.
I haven't gotten any of your audio
that's
for the
such
past
a
like 2
crazy
minutes.
scene. I wonder how big in real life the Queen Mother alien was. It looked huge.
Nancy, can you hear me?
Because they used a lot of like trickery, didn't they, in that film? For
Nancy, can you hear me?
like the size of things and the amounts of things.
Nancy, can you hear me?
Is it working now?
No. I lost whatever like the last 3 minutes of your audio was.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but everything that happened for like the last 3 minutes, I didn't hear anything you said.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, you can't hear me.
I'm losing your video too. I feel like we're in Aliens.
Oh my God. What should we do? Oh man. Oh no.
Okay, start speaking now and see if we can get to the next thing. Because we're about to do the ratings. We're really close. We just have to do
okay. Okay. Cool. Can you hear me?
Just sort of.
Oh. Oh dear.
Okay. I heard you laugh. Are you there now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So it's a little rough, but we can get through the end from here.
Okay, cool. Right, ratings.
Okay, but we do have to finish the film, how it ends. Okay. Do you want to do the power loader alien blaster out?
You do it. You do it. You do it. Yeah.
And so, finally, at the very end of the movie, Ripley uses her ability to be a futuristic forklift instructor to put on a mech suit and get in a fist fight with the alien queen and blast her out of the airlock. And then they all go back to sleep in their sleep chambers. All right. The way we rate these movies typically is on a 3-part scale: acting, plot, and action. Sound good?
Sounds good.
And we'll do and it's 1 to 5 stars. So 1 star would be like garbage. 5 stars, it's as good as Muppet Treasure Island.
We rewatched that around Christmas. That's so funny.
It's my favorite movie of all time.
All right. My God. It's so weird that you bring that up. But okay, let's stick to the ratings. Yeah.
All right. And honestly, our views are our own. So whatever, we don't have to agree on these things. But
unless you're that disgusting guy who died, rest in piss.
Yeah, rest in piss, fucking Rush Limbaugh. He's worse than Burke.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let you go first. For acting, how many stars would you give this movie for acting?
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 5. Maybe I'm a generous fool, but I think it was great. And like down to the Ripley with the cigarette, and I just think she's fucking fantastic. I thought everyone was great. My only complaint, maybe it's because she's a child, I think Newt was a bit wooden at points where she screamed. Her face. My argument against things like this is there are so many people in the world, you don't know how everybody like looks when they react and do things and all this, but
yeah,
you know, she was a child, and but I'd still give it a 5 or a 4.9 if it's for everyone.
you know, that was her only movie. The
Well, yeah, I remember reading that, and she's got a kind of mix of accents going on, isn't she? She was an American child, but living in England and schooling there, and you can hear the influence.
Yeah,
yeah,
especially like the way she says her name, because like I would just say Newt, and she's like,
yeah,
my name's Newt or whatever. I'm going to agree with you 100%. 5 stars for acting. Sigourney Weaver, fucking always amazing. The dude, Bill Paxton, probably one of my favorite actors of all time. The guy that played Hicks, his name's Michael Biehn. If he was Kyle Reese in Terminator, he was great in that. And just everyone else in the cast, everyone was good. Even like Paul Reiser plays a piece of shit, but Paul Reiser was great. He really, really delivered as a sleazy corporate piece of shit. So 5 stars for acting. I'm gonna give it to him. All right, next up would be plot. Do you want to go first on plot?
I think the plot's great. I can't fault it. It's so classic. I'm gonna give it another 5.
I'm gonna agree with you. 5 stars on plot. It's perfect. I mean, like, and it's, you know, it's like, it's the greedy corporate you know, just execs are like, hey, let's send a bunch of Marines. We don't care if they die. We don't care if the colonists die. We don't give a shit. Only thing that matters is the bottom line. This is all personified in Paul Reiser's character Burke, and it's all believable. It's believable that they would have
we see it all the time.
Yeah, it's believable that they had a commanding officer that wasn't prepared to do his job. Yeah, plot fucking 5. And then of course action.
The action is so good. I'm just gonna bore everyone and be like 5, 5, 5.
It's a great, I mean, there's nothing wrong with giving a great movie a great review.
I'm giving it a 5. Yeah,
I want to give it a 5 too, and I want to add a few caveats, or just not caveats, but I just want to add a few points to why it gets a 5. And one of them, I think you brought this up earlier with the Alien Queen, but we were having technical difficulties with the audio. So this, to listeners, they might not know why I'm saying this, but what is so incredible, and to this day, like, not only does it stand up, but actually it's outstanding. It's better than so much of the stuff that we're doing with CGI now, is these practical effects, and the fact that, you know, the Queen Alien was a puppet, was a giant puppet. They were puppeteering. The aliens, like the warrior aliens, the ones that were like the full-grown worker warrior, whatever they're supposed to be, they did so good with that. Part of the reason why that was higher quality than an Alien 1, and no offense to people that don't feel the same way, but just the way the aliens were so much more, you know, versatile and interesting, is because they got a bunch of gymnasts and stuntmen and people that were extraordinarily flexible, that could really move their bodies in like astounding ways to be inside the suits. So it doesn't look like a person in a rubber suit. It looks like an animal. It's moving like an animal.
It's so believable.
Of course, the scene where, you know, when the very first go into the nest, and the Marines suddenly realized that the walls themselves are the aliens. And I mean, that's incredible action. So much cool stuff. I mean, you could just go on and on and on with the great action. So 5 stars. One thing we normally do with this is, instead of just giving it a star rating at the end, although this is the first movie that we've ever reviewed that got 5 stars all the way through, but we usually give it like a funny name. Like when we did what was it? We did Point Break. We scored that better than Fast and the Furious. when we did Con Air, we scored that as a movie Donald Trump would like. What do you want to title this movie, or title the score of this movie?
So much pressure. It's too good. The score. Damn.
I feel like I'm putting you in an awkward position.
It's just such a good film that it needs a great name, and I just don't have the wit to come up with something that fast. Damn.
We could just say it scored, it got a 5.55 for acting, plot, and action. We could just say it's a perfectly crafted film.
15. It's a perfect 15.
It's a perfect 15. I like that. All right. This is a perfect 15, perfectly crafted film. Holds up. Maybe it'll hold up forever. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
Rest
Amazing
in piss,
actor.
whatever your other guy's name is.
Rest in piss, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Well, Nancy, thank you for joining me all the way from jolly old England to
thank you for having me.
To rate this film. And I'm stoked that you love this movie as much as I do, and it got a 5.55 perfect 15. It's never happened before.
15.
Nobody can see us, but we're both doing really cool stuff with our arms.
Yeah.
Well, shoot. I'll talk to you later, Nancy.
Okay. Yeah. Take care.
You too. Bye.